The stars twinkled in the vast emptiness of space as the human diplomatic vessel approached the neutral meeting point. Commander Jack Harlow stood at the viewing window, his hands clasped behind his back. The space station loomed ahead, a marvel of engineering that neither humans nor the Dravaki had built. It was ancient, abandoned, and perfect for this first official meeting. "Are you nervous?" Lieutenant Abby Winters asked, stepping beside him. Jack offered a small smile. "A little. Wouldn't you be? First contact with an empire that spans hundreds of star systems." "I'd be worried if you weren't nervous," she replied. "The safety of humanity might depend on what happens in the next few hours." The year was 2157. Humanity had spread beyond Earth to Mars, Europa, and even a handful of exoplanets. They were growing, thriving, until 3 months ago when they detected the massive ships of the Dravaki Empire at the edge of the solar system. The aliens had sent a message of peace, expressing interest in meeting the species that had expanded so quickly from a single world. Earth's leaders debated for weeks before agreeing to this meeting. General Frank Daniels had argued against it, calling it too risky. "We know nothing about them," he had said during the final planning session, "and they know too much about us. They've been watching us, studying us, but the opportunity to gain advanced technology was too tempting to pass up." So here they were, 12 of Earth's finest, approaching an ancient space station to meet an alien species for the first time. The docking procedure went smoothly. Jack led his team through the airlock and into the station. The air was breathable, the gravity comfortable. The corridor ahead was well lit, leading to a large chamber at its center. The Dravaki were already waiting. They stood taller than humans with gray-blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the lights. Their eyes were large, entirely black, and they had no visible ears. Ambassador Zilarek stepped forward, raising 4-fingered hands in what appeared to be a greeting. "Commander Harlow." Zilarek spoke, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into perfect English. "Welcome to this historic meeting. We have watched your species with great interest." Jack nodded respectfully. "Ambassador Zilarek, on behalf of Earth and all human colonies, we thank you for this opportunity. We hope this meeting marks the beginning of a peaceful relationship between our peoples." The initial discussions went well. The Dravaki seemed impressed by human achievements, especially how quickly they had adapted to space travel and colonization. Zilarek explained that the Dravaki Empire had existed for thousands of years, spreading slowly but steadily across the stars. "Your adaptability is remarkable," Zilarek said during a break in the talks. "Most species take centuries to achieve what you have done in decades." Jack felt pride at the compliment, but Abby remained cautious. She leaned close to him during a private moment. "They're too interested in our biology," she whispered. "Did you notice how many questions they asked about how we handle different environments?" "They're just curious," Jack replied, but he made a mental note to be more careful with their answers. On the third day of talks, Zilarek made an unexpected offer. "We would like to invite your delegation to visit our flagship, a gesture of trust and the next step in our friendship. We can show you technologies that might benefit your people." The human team discussed the offer privately. Some were excited, others wary. "It could be a trap," Abby warned. "Or it could be the opportunity of a lifetime," countered Dr. Stephen Grant, their science officer. "Think of what we could learn." Jack made the decision. "We accept with gratitude," he told Zilarek. "When can we visit?" "Immediately, if you wish," the alien replied, his black eyes revealing nothing. The Dravaki shuttle transported them from the station to the massive flagship waiting nearby. The vessel was enormous, at least 10 times the size of Earth's largest ship. Its design was elegant, with smooth curves instead of the angular construction humans preferred. As they disembarked into the flagship's docking bay, Jack felt a shiver of unease. There were too many armed Dravaki present for a friendly visit. He caught Abby's eye, and she nodded slightly, having noticed the same thing. "Ambassador, I thought this was a diplomatic tour," Jack said carefully. Zilarek's posture changed subtly. "It is exactly what it needs to be, Commander. Your species is fascinating but young. Too young to be equals yet, but perfect for study. The trap sprung with shocking speed. Dravaki soldiers moved forward, weapons raised. The human security team reached for their sidearms but were quickly overwhelmed. Jack managed to hit the emergency transmitter on his wrist communicator before a stun blast knocked him to the floor. He awoke later in a cell. The walls were transparent, allowing him to see other cells containing his team members. Abby was in the cell opposite his, already awake and testing the boundaries of her prison. "They took our equipment," she called to him, "but they didn't find my backup transmitter. I managed to send a partial distress signal before they brought us here." Jack tried the door of his cell, finding it securely locked. "Did anyone see what happened to the others?" "They separated us into different sections. I saw Dr. Grant being taken to another level. They seemed particularly interested in him. Over the next few days, the true nature of their situation became clear. They weren't guests or even prisoners of war in the traditional sense. They were specimens. The Dravaki conducted tests, taking blood samples, measuring their reactions to different stimuli, observing how they handled stress and confinement. Zilarex visited Jack on the 5th day. "Your species is even more remarkable up close," he said. "Your ability to adapt to overcome obstacles is unlike anything we've seen. We will learn much from you." "Earth will come for us," Jack warned. "What you're doing is an act of war." Zilarex made a sound that the translator interpreted as laughter. "Your planet is defenseless against our empire. By the time your people organize a response, we will have collected hundreds more specimens and learned all your weaknesses." After Zilarex left, Jack managed to communicate with Abby through a pattern of taps they had developed. "We need to gather information," he tapped out. "Learn their routines, their technology. Find weaknesses." "Already started," she replied. "They underestimate us. That's their first mistake." Back on Earth, General Daniels received the fragmented distress signal. The message was incomplete, but clear enough. The diplomatic mission had been ambushed, the delegation captured. He immediately called an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership. "The Dravaki see us as lab rats, not equals," he told them grimly. "We need to prepare for the worst." President Russell nodded solemnly. "Begin military preparations, but quietly. We need time to build our strength before they realize we're planning a response." In his cell aboard the Dravaki flagship, Jack Harlow made a promise to himself and his captured team. This wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of humanity's fight back. The Dravaki thought humans were interesting specimens. Soon they would learn just how dangerous their new test subjects could be. 6 months passed since the capture of the human delegation. The Dravaki research station Alpha 9 hummed with activity as scientists moved between cells and laboratories. Commander Jack Harlow, now known simply as Prisoner 24601, sat on the floor of his cell watching the guards pass by. His once neat uniform was torn and dirty. A scar ran across his right cheek, a reminder of his first escape attempt 3 months ago. In the cell across from him, Dr. Lisa Rodriguez tapped a quiet message on the clear wall. She had been the medical officer on the diplomatic mission. Now, she used her knowledge to help fellow prisoners survive the Dravaki experiments. "New prisoners coming today," her taps spelled out. "From Europa Colony." Jack nodded slightly to show he understood. More humans meant more suffering, but also more potential allies. Over the months, he had established a system among the prisoners. They shared information, supported each other, and most importantly, they watched and learned. The door at the end of the corridor slid open. 2 Dravaki guards led a group of 5 humans into the cell block. The newcomers looked terrified, but unharmed. Jack recognized the woman at the front, Mira Peterson, a pilot he had met once during training on Earth. She didn't see him as she was pushed into a cell 3 doors down. Later that night, when the main lights dimmed for the sleep cycle, Jack used the prison communication network to welcome the newcomers. Kyle Bennett, a former security officer held in the cell next to Jack's, had discovered that if they whispered near the air vents, their voices would carry to nearby cells. "Mira," Jack whispered. "It's Jack Harlow. Don't react. Just listen." There was a moment of silence, then Mira's voice came back faintly. Jack, we thought you were dead. Everyone on Earth thinks you're dead. What's happening back home? Are they preparing to fight? Mira's news wasn't good. Earth was building up its forces, but the process was slow. The Dravaki had attacked 2 more human outposts, taking more prisoners. The colonies were in a panic. But they're building ships, she added, like nothing we've had before. General Daniels is leading the effort. They're calling it the Phoenix Project. Jack felt a mix of hope and frustration. Help wouldn't come soon, which meant they needed to help themselves. The next morning, Zarath arrived. The lead Dravaki scientist always made Jack's skin crawl. Tall and thin, with eyes that seemed to see through skin to the bones beneath, Zarath had taken a special interest in Jack. Subject 24601, Zarath said, his translator making his voice sound flat and emotionless. Today we will test your reaction to stress again. Your results are most unusual. 2 guards entered Jack's cell and secured his hands behind his back. As they led him to the laboratory, he memorized every detail of the route. 3 right turns, 1 left, through 2 security doors that required Dravaki handprints to open. The laboratory was large and cold. Strange machines lined the walls, and in the center stood a metal table with restraints. Jack was secured to the table, and Zarath began attaching sensors to his body. Your species continues to surprise us, Zarath said as he worked. Most subjects break after 2 months of testing. Your group not only survives but adapts. Fascinating. Jack said nothing. He had learned that showing defiance only led to harsher tests. Instead, he used these sessions to gather information. Today, he noticed a new device on Zarath's desk, a small cylinder with glowing buttons. When Zarath pressed one, the security door opened without a handprint, a master key of some kind. After 4 hours of tests designed to push his endurance to the limit, Jack was returned to his cell. He was exhausted but had valuable new information. As soon as the guards left, he tapped out a message to Lisa. Zarath has a device that opens doors without prints, Lisa replied quickly. Need to get it. Kyle found weakness in cell lock mechanism. Over the next few weeks, Jack, Lisa, and Kyle refined their escape plan. They communicated with other prisoners, creating a network that stretched across multiple sections of the research station. Mira revealed that before her capture, she had been trained as an engineer. She understood Dravaki ship systems better than most. If we can reach the lower levels, she whispered through the vent one night, I can access their communication array. We could send a message to Earth with the station's exact location. The plan was dangerous, but every day brought new prisoners and more horror stories. The Dravaki were expanding their operations, capturing humans from more colonies. Time was running out. One morning, a new prisoner arrived, a young man barely out of his teens. He was placed in the cell next to Lisa's. That night, the boy cried himself to sleep. Lisa tried to comfort him through the wall, but nothing helped. Jack called a meeting through the vent system. We move in 3 days, he whispered. During the shift change. Spread the word, but carefully. On the 3rd day, Jack was taken for another session with Zarath. The scientist seemed excited, practically buzzing with energy as he prepared his instruments. We have made a breakthrough, Zarath told Jack. Your genetic structure has revealed secrets that will help our empire expand even faster. The High Command is pleased. They have authorized a new phase, direct action against your homeworld. Jack's blood ran cold. What do you mean? We will harvest more specimens, thousands more, Zarath said. A fleet is preparing now. Your Earth will provide us with an endless supply of test subjects. Jack knew their timeline had just shrunk from days to hours. As Zarath turned away to prepare an injection, Jack spotted the key device on the desk. With a sudden burst of strength, he broke one of his restraints, lunged forward, and grabbed it. Alarms blared immediately. Zarath spun around, his alien face showing surprise. Jack knocked him back against the wall, grabbed a syringe from the tray, and plunged it into Zarath's neck. The alien scientist collapsed. Guards would be coming. Jack used the device to open the laboratory door and ran into the corridor. The plan had changed. There was no time for subtlety now. He pressed the emergency button on the key device, not knowing what would happen. Throughout the station, cell doors slid open. Confused prisoners stepped out, looking around in disbelief. Over the intercom, Jack's voice rang out. He had reached a control panel and found a way to broadcast. "This is Commander Harlow. All prisoners, this is our chance. The Dravaki are planning to attack Earth. We need to warn them. If you can fight, fight. If you can run, run. But whatever you do, don't give up." Chaos erupted throughout the research station. Hundreds of prisoners, fueled by months of anger and fear, rose up against their captors. Not all would survive, but for the first time since their capture, they had hope. In the command center, which Kyle had managed to secure with a group of former security officers, Jack met with his core team. Lisa had medical supplies and was treating the wounded. Mira was already working on the communications array. "We can send a message," she said, "but the Dravaki will detect it. They'll be here in force within hours. Then we need to be gone before they arrive," Jack said. "Are there ships we can use?" Kyle nodded. "Shuttle bay on level 4, but the Dravaki are guarding it heavily." Jack looked at the small group of leaders that had formed around him. They were injured, exhausted, but their eyes burned with determination. "Then we fight our way to level 4, he said simply. "It's time to go home." Alarms blared throughout the Dravaki research station as Jack and his team fought their way toward the shuttle bay on level 4. The corridors echoed with shouts and the sound of makeshift weapons against Dravaki armor. The prisoners had surprise on their side, but the aliens had superior weapons and training. "This way," Kyle shouted, leading them down a service tunnel he had discovered during his work detail. His face was streaked with blood from a cut above his eye, but determination kept him moving. Lisa stayed close to Jack, a medical bag slung over her shoulder. She had grabbed supplies from the infirmary, knowing they would need them. "How much further?" she asked, helping a limping prisoner keep pace with the group. 2 more levels," Kyle replied. "But they'll be guarding the elevators," Mira pushed, to the front of the group. "We don't need elevators. There's a maintenance shaft that runs between levels. I saw it on the station schematics when they brought me in." Jack nodded. "Lead the way." They found the maintenance shaft behind a panel at the end of the corridor. It was narrow, meant for the smaller Dravaki maintenance workers, but the humans could fit through it one by one. Jack sent Mira first, then helped the 30-odd prisoners who had joined their group to climb into the shaft. "You go," Kyle told Jack when only the 2 of them remained. "I'll hold them off." Jack shook his head. "We leave together or not at all." The sound of Dravaki soldiers grew louder. "There's no time to argue," Kyle insisted. "Someone needs to buy few minutes and I'm the best choice." He pressed a small object into Jack's hand, the data chip Lisa had used to record every detail of the Dravaki experiments. "Make sure this gets to Earth. Make sure they pay for what they did to us." Before Jack could protest further, Kyle pushed him toward the shaft and turned to face the approaching guards. Jack heard the sounds of struggle as he climbed through the tight passage, trying not to think about his friend's sacrifice. The maintenance shaft opened into a storage room on level 4. Jack pulled himself out to find Mira organizing the group. "Kyle?" she asked quietly. Jack just shook his head. There was no time for mourning. "How far to the shuttle bay?" "Down this corridor and to the left," Mira replied. "But there's a problem. The bay doors can only be opened from the control room and it's certain to be guarded." Jack divided their group into 2 teams. "Mira, take 10 people and secure the control room. Lisa and I will lead the rest to the shuttles and prepare for launch." As they separated, the station's intercom crackled to life. "Attention human prisoners," Zarath's voice echoed through the corridors. The lead scientist had survived Jack's attack. "Your rebellion is futile. Dravaki reinforcements are approaching. Surrender now and some of you may be spared. No one in the group even considered the offer. They had seen too much of Dravaki mercy over the past months. Mira's team moved out first, using the element of surprise to overwhelm the 3 guards at the control room door. Inside, she quickly went to work on the computer systems, trying to override the bay door controls. Meanwhile, Jack and Lisa led their group toward the shuttle bay. They encountered resistance, a squad of Dravaki soldiers who had set up a defensive position at the bay entrance. The humans took cover behind cargo containers. "We need a distraction," Jack whispered, surveying the situation. The Dravaki outnumbered them and had better weapons. Lisa reached into her medical bag and pulled out several containers. "Dravaki respiratory systems are sensitive to certain chemicals," she explained. "These might help even the odds." Before, Jack could ask where she had learned this. A series of explosions rocked the station. The lights flickered and an automated warning announced, "Warning, hull breach in Sectors 7 and 8. Emergency containment activated." "That wasn't us," Jack said, confusion clear on his face. The Dravaki soldiers at the bay entrance received a communication that made them look up in alarm. Several broke from their positions, rushing away from the shuttle bay. Jack's communicator, which he had taken from a fallen guard, crackled to life. "Commander Harlow, do you read me?" The voice was human, unfamiliar. Jack stared at the device in shock. "This is Harlow. Who is this?" "Captain Greg Vaughn of the Earth vessel Valiant," came the reply. "We picked up your distress signal. Hang tight, Commander. The cavalry has arrived." A cheer went up from the prisoners. Jack could hardly believe it. "Captain, we're trying to reach the shuttle bay on level 4. We have about 30 people here, but there are hundreds more prisoners throughout the station." "Understood. We've engaged the Dravaki ships outside, but we've also sent boarding parties to assist with evacuation. Hold your position if possible." With renewed hope, Jack turned to his group. "Help is coming, but we still need to get those bay doors open." Then Mira's voice came through on a station channel. "Jack, we've secured the control room, but the system is locked down. I can't open the bay doors from here. There's a manual override in the bay itself, but someone will have to reach it." Jack assessed the situation. The Dravaki guards were distracted by the attack, but still blocking the direct path to the override controls. Lisa stepped forward. "I'll create a diversion. When they move, you make a run for the controls." "It's too dangerous," Jack protested. Lisa gave him a determined look. "After what they did to us, to Earth, nothing's too dangerous anymore." Before he could stop her, Lisa threw her chemical containers toward the Dravaki position. They broke open, releasing a thick yellow gas. The aliens reacted immediately, some clutching at their breathing apparatus, others falling back. Jack seized the opportunity and sprinted across the open space toward the control panel. Laser fire scorched the wall beside him, but he kept moving. Reaching the panel, he jammed Zarath's key device into the slot and activated the emergency override. With a deep mechanical groan, the massive bay doors began to open. Through the widening gap, Jack could see the stars and the flashes of weapons fire. Earth ships were engaged in battle with Dravaki vessels. Lisa rejoined him, breathing hard. It worked. The rest of their group rushed forward into the shuttle bay. 3 Dravaki transport shuttles sat on the landing pads. Mira and her team arrived moments later, having used the distraction to escape the control room. "Can you fly these?" Jack asked Mira, gesturing to the alien craft. She nodded. "The controls are different, but the principles are the same. We need to distribute people evenly between the shuttles." As they organized the escape, the station shook from another impact. Through the bay doors, they watched a Dravaki cruiser explode under fire from 3 smaller Earth ships. Jack's communicator crackled again. "Commander, this is Captain Vaughn. We're clearing you a path. Launch when ready and follow the beacon we're transmitting. We'll cover you." With the prisoners divided among the 3 shuttles, Jack took a moment to look back at the research station that had been their prison. Somewhere in there, Kyle and many others had sacrificed themselves so that this moment could happen. "We'll come back for the others," Lisa said, reading his thoughts. "This isn't over." Jack nodded grimly. "No, it's just beginning." The shuttles lifted off, piloted by Mira and 2 other former pilots among the prisoners. As they cleared the bay, they saw the full scale of the battle. 6 Earth vessels, smaller than the Dravaki ships but faster and more maneuverable, were engaging a Dravaki battle group. The human ships used hit-and-run tactics, striking vulnerable points and then darting away before the larger alien vessels could respond. Jack watched in amazement. They've learned. They're not trying to match the Dravaki strength for strength. As their shuttle joined the Earth fleet's formation, Jack felt a mix of emotions: relief at their escape, grief for those left behind, and a burning determination that had been forged through months of captivity. The communicator came to life once more. "Welcome back, Commander," Captain Vaughn said. "Admiral Cole is waiting to debrief you. She's particularly interested in any intelligence you might have gathered." Jack looked down at the data chip Kyle had given him, containing months of Lisa's careful documentation. "Tell the Admiral we're bringing something that might just change the course of this war." As the shuttles accelerated away from the research station, heading for the Earth flagship in the distance, Jack knew that the human counterattack had begun. The Dravaki had started this war by treating humans as specimens. They would soon learn just how dangerous their test subjects could be. 1 year had passed since Jack Harlow and his fellow prisoners escaped from the Dravaki research station. Earth and its colonies had changed dramatically. Every available resource was now directed toward the war effort. Factories that once made civilian goods now produced weapons and ships. People who had been farmers, teachers, and office workers were now soldiers and ship crews. Jack stood on the bridge of the Avenger, his new command. The ship was one of hundreds built in the massive orbital shipyards around Earth and Mars. It wasn't as large as a Dravaki cruiser, but it was faster and more agile, and it had something the Dravaki ships didn't have: weapons specifically designed to target their weaknesses. "Captain, we're receiving the final coordinates for Operation Jailbreak," said his communications officer. Jack nodded. "Put it on the main screen." A star map appeared highlighting a distant Dravaki system. Intelligence had confirmed another research station there, holding at least 200 human prisoners. This would be the 5th prison facility they had raided in the past 6 months. The door to the bridge slid open and Lisa Rodriguez entered. After their escape, she had been promoted to Chief Medical Officer of the Earth Fleet, but she often joined Jack's missions when prisoners were involved. "Are we ready?" she asked, moving to stand beside him. "Almost. We're waiting for Admiral Cole's final authorization." Admiral Samantha Cole had become the face of humanity's resistance. Using the data that Lisa had collected during their captivity, she had developed strategies that allowed Earth's smaller fleet to stand against the Dravaki Empire's massive forces. "Have you seen the latest reports from Dr. Wilson's team?" Lisa asked quietly. Jack nodded. Dr. Paul Wilson led the scientific division that studied Dravaki technology. Using pieces recovered from destroyed enemy ships, his team had made incredible advances. The new shields should be ready for field testing next month. "And my project?" Lisa's eyes showed a mix of hope and guilt. She had been working on a biological agent that specifically targeted Dravaki physiology, a weapon born from her experiences as their captive and test subject. "The Admiral is still considering it," Jack said carefully. "It's effective, but using biological warfare crosses a line we might not be able to uncross." Lisa looked away. "They crossed that line first, Jack. You know what they did to us, what they're still doing to our people." Before Jack could respond, the communications console beeped. "Admiral Cole is on the line, Captain." The main screen changed to show Admiral Cole's face. She looked tired but determined, the weight of command evident in the new lines around her eyes. "Commander Harlow, Operation Jailbreak is approved. You'll lead a task force of 6 ships. Your priority is prisoner extraction, but if you can capture any intact Dravaki technology, that would be a significant bonus." "Understood, Admiral. We'll depart immediately." Cole's expression softened slightly. "Jack, Lisa, good hunting. Bring our people home." The screen returned to the star map. Jack turned to his bridge crew. "Send the order to the task force. We jump to hyperspace in 30 minutes. As the crew prepared for departure, Lisa touched Jack's arm. "I'll go check the medical bay. We need to be ready for whatever condition the prisoners are in." When she left, Jack studied the mission details again. This raid was more dangerous than previous ones. The target was deeper in Dravaki territory, and intelligence suggested it might be a trap. The Dravaki were learning, adapting to human tactics, NT. Hour later, the task force jumped to hyperspace. The journey would take 3 days. Jack used the time to brief his team thoroughly and to rest, something he rarely managed to do. On the 3rd day, as they approached their destination, Jack called a final meeting with his ship captains via hologram. The Dravaki won't expect us to attack such a well-defended facility, he explained. But they've improved their security since our escape last year. We'll use the new stealth technology to approach undetected. Captain Perry, your ship will create a diversion here. He pointed to a moon orbiting the target planet. The rest of us will move in during the confusion. Captain Susan Perry nodded. My crew is ready, sir. After the meeting, Jack returned to his quarters to prepare mentally for the mission. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Come in, he called. Mira Peterson entered. After their escape, she had joined Earth's military and now served as Jack's chief engineer. I've finished the modifications to the shuttles, she reported. They'll be able to jam Dravaki communications for about 10 minutes when we land. Good work, Jack said. That should give us enough time to breach their security. Mira hesitated, then asked, Do you think Kyle could be there? At this facility? Jack had asked himself the same question before every raid. Kyle Bennett's sacrifice had allowed their escape, but they had never confirmed his death. It's possible, he said gently. We'll look for him, just like we always do. The alarm sounded, signaling their approach to the target system. Jack and Mira hurried to their positions. The task force dropped out of hyperspace behind the system's outer moon, hidden from Dravaki sensors. Captain Perry's ship, the Defiant, moved into position and launched its attack on the moon base, drawing Dravaki defenders away from the main facility. Jack's ships approached the planet under stealth. As they entered the atmosphere, Dravaki sensors finally detected them, but it was too late. The human vessels fired precision strikes at the facility's defenses, knocking out weapon emplacements and shield generators. Landing zone secured, Jack's tactical officer reported. Resistance is lighter than expected. That worried Jack. Stay alert. This could still be a trap. The Avenger landed near the facility's main entrance. Jack led the first assault team, with Lisa following with the medical unit. They breached the doors and moved inside, meeting scattered resistance from Dravaki guards. As they pushed deeper into the facility, Jack felt a growing sense of unease. There should be more defenders, he said to his second-in-command. They reached the prisoner cells and found them empty. Sweep the entire facility, Jack ordered. They must be here somewhere. In the central laboratory, they found their answer. A recording device sat on a desk, activated by their entry. A hologram of Zilarix, the Dravaki ambassador who had betrayed them at the first contact, appeared. Commander Harlow, the hologram said, Your persistence is remarkable, but predictable. The prisoners you seek were relocated 3 days ago. However, we left something for you. The hologram disappeared, replaced by images of a massive Dravaki fleet approaching Earth. While you chase shadows at the edge of our territory, our main force moves against your homeworld. By the time you receive this message, the attack will have begun. Jack felt the blood drain from his face. Contact Admiral Cole immediately, he shouted to his communications officer. Warn Earth about the attack, but their signals were being jammed. Jack ordered an immediate retreat to their ships. They needed to get back to Earth as quickly as possible. As they rushed back to the Avenger, Lisa caught up with Jack. This was a setup from the beginning, she said, her voice tight with anger. They used our concern for the prisoners against us. Jack nodded grimly. And I fell for it. I let my personal feelings cloud my judgment. They reached the ships and took off, fighting past the Dravaki reinforcements that had arrived to trap them. 2 human vessels were lost in the escape, but the rest made it to hyperspace. As the Avenger raced back toward Earth, Jack stood alone on the bridge, watching the blur of hyperspace outside the viewports. For the first time since their original escape, he felt genuine fear. Not for himself, but for humanity. The Dravaki had learned from their encounters with humans. They had used human compassion as a weapon against them. and now Earth faced its greatest threat. Jack's console beeped with an incoming transmission. It was broken and distorted by hyperspace interference, but the message was clear enough. All ships return. Dravaki fleet in Earth orbit. Heavy casualties. Requesting immediate assistance. Jack clenched his fists. They were still 3 days away from Earth. 3 days while their homeworld fought for survival against the full might of the Dravaki Empire. The Avenger dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. Jack Harlow stood rigid on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the main screen. The rest of his task force emerged behind him, 4 ships instead of the 6 they had started with. They had pushed their engines beyond safe limits to return to Earth as quickly as possible. "Status report," Jack ordered, his voice tight with tension. "Multiple contacts, sir," the sensor officer replied. "Dravaki warships throughout the system, heavy fighting near Earth and Mars. Our defense fleet is still there. They're holding." A cheer went up from the bridge crew. Earth had withstood the initial assault. Lisa entered the bridge, her face showing the same mix of relief and concern that Jack felt. "How bad is it?" she asked quietly. "Bad, but not as bad as it could be," Jack replied. "Admiral Cole must have been ready for them." Jack opened a channel to the other ships in his task force. "This is Captain Harlow. We're going in. Follow attack pattern Delta. Focus on their command ships." The task force accelerated toward Earth, weapons systems powering up. As they drew closer, they could see the full scale of the battle. Dozens of Earth ships fought against the larger Dravaki vessels. The space around Earth was filled with debris from destroyed ships on both sides. Jack's communications officer called out, "Incoming transmission from Earth Defense Command." Admiral Cole's face appeared on screen. She looked exhausted with a bandage visible on her forehead. "Commander Harlow, your timing is excellent." "Admiral, we came as soon as we could. The mission was a trap." "We figured that out," Cole said, grimly. "They hit us with everything they had, but we were ready. Dr. Wilson's new shield technology saved us from the first wave, but it's failing now. We need to push them back." "Where do you need us most?" Jack asked. "Their flagship has stayed at the edge of the battle. It's coordinating their attacks. Take it out, and their fleet will be in disarray." Jack studied the tactical display. The Dravaki flagship was massive, at least 5 times the size of the Avenger. It was also heavily protected by escort vessels. "We'll find a way through," Jack promised. As they closed on the Dravaki formation, Lisa approached Jack again. "I need to speak with you privately." They stepped away from the main bridge stations. "What is it?" Jack asked. Lisa held up a small container. "My biological agent. It's ready. We could deploy it against their flagship. The ventilation systems would spread it throughout the ship." Jack stared at the container. They had debated the ethics of biological warfare many times. "And it would kill them all?" "Yes," Lisa said simply, quickly and effectively. "Is there an antidote?" "Yes. I wouldn't create a weapon like this without a way to stop it if needed." Jack thought about the months they had spent as specimens, about Kyle's sacrifice, about the thousands of humans who had died in this war already. "Do it," he decided. "But we'll need to get close enough to deploy it manually. Their shields will stop any projectile delivery." Jack returned to the command chair and outlined his plan to the bridge crew. The Avenger would lead a direct assault on the flagship, drawing attention while the other ships in their task force attacked from different angles. In the confusion, they would get close enough to board the Dravaki vessel. The attack began. The Avenger and its companion ships dove toward the Dravaki formation, weapons firing continuously. The Dravaki responded with overwhelming force, their energy weapons tearing through space around the human vessels. "Evasive maneuvers," Jack ordered as the ship shook from a near miss. "All power to forward shields." The Avenger rolled and twisted, somehow making it through the first line of Dravaki defenders. 2 of their task force ships were hit badly but continued fighting. As they approached the flagship, Jack saw an opportunity. "There. Their shuttle bay is opening to launch fighters, if we time it right." We can slip inside before their shields reset, Mira finished, understanding immediately. I can do it. Jack looked at his engineer with both pride and concern. It's a one-way trip. Their internal defenses. I know, Mira cut in, but someone has to do it. Before Jack could respond, a new voice came over the communications system. This is Captain Vaughn of the Valiant. We're moving to support your attack run, Avenger. 6 fresh Earth ships appeared, engaging the Dravaki escorts and creating the opening they needed. Jack felt a surge of hope. Maybe they could do this after all. Mira, prepare a boarding team, Jack ordered. I'll lead it myself. Jack, no, Lisa protested. You're needed here. This mission requires someone who knows Dravaki ships from the inside, Jack replied firmly. That's me. The Avenger raced toward the Dravaki flagship, dodging fire from all sides. As they approached the shuttle bay, Mira's skilled piloting brought them in at precisely the right moment. They slipped inside just as the energy shields began to close behind them. The Avenger crashed onto the deck of the shuttle bay, skidding to a halt among startled Dravaki crew. Jack led the boarding team out, weapons firing. They fought their way through the corridors toward the central air filtration system. Lisa stayed with them, the container of biological agents secured in her medical bag. 2 more levels, she called, out, consulting the ship schematic they had memorized during their captivity. The fighting was intense. 3 of their team fell in a Dravaki ambush. Jack took a glancing hit to his arm but kept moving. Finally, they reached the main air processing chamber. Lisa rushed forward to place the biological agent into the intake system. Just as she finished, a familiar figure appeared in the doorway. Commander Harlow. Dr. Rodriguez. We meet again. It was Zilarex, the Dravaki ambassador who had betrayed them at first contact. You, Jack said, raising his weapon. Zilarex stepped forward, seeming unconcerned by the gun pointed at him. Your species continues to surprise us. We thought you primitive, easily conquered. We were wrong. You're about to find out just how wrong, Lisa said, activating the release mechanism for the biological agent. Zilarex tilted his head. You expect to kill us all and escape? Impossible. We don't expect to escape, Jack replied calmly, but humanity will survive. That's what matters. A slow smile spread across Zilarex's alien face. Perhaps there is another way. Before Jack could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. A different Dravaki voice came over the intercom, speaking rapidly in their native language. What's happening? Jack demanded. A faction of my people has been arguing for peace, Zilarex explained. Your resistance has convinced many that this war was a mistake. The Imperial Guard has just been overthrown. The new leadership is calling for a ceasefire. Jack kept his weapon raised, suspicious. Why should we believe you? Because I am part of that faction, Zilarex said. I have been working from within to end this war. Your attack provided the opportunity we needed. Lisa quickly pulled the antidote from her bag. If this is a trick, it is not. Look. Zilarex pointed to a nearby screen where the Dravaki fleet was pulling back, weapons powering down. Jack's communicator crackled. Commander, this is Admiral Cole. The Dravaki are standing down across the system. They're requesting to open peace talks. What's your situation? Jack looked at Lisa, then back at Zilarex. We've made contact with a Dravaki peace faction. I think the war might be ending. 3 days later, Jack stood in Earth's orbital conference facility as representatives from both species signed a preliminary peace agreement. The terms included the immediate release of all human prisoners, reparations for the damages caused, and a technology exchange program, a real one this time. As the ceremony concluded, Lisa joined him at the viewport overlooking Earth. Do you think it will last? She asked. Jack watched as the Dravaki and human diplomats shook hands awkwardly. I don't know, but we've proven something important. Humanity won't be anyone's test subjects. We fight back. Lisa smiled slightly. And we win. Jack thought of Kyle and all the others who hadn't lived to see this day. At a cost, but yes, we win. Beyond Earth, the stars twinkled peacefully. But Jack knew that somewhere out there other alien civilizations might be watching, evaluating humanity's strength. If they came with peaceful intentions, they would find friends. If they came as conquerors, they would find the species that had brought the mighty Dravaki Empire to the negotiating table. Either way, humanity was ready.